What's up, and welcome back to another edition of DBSN Overtime. I'm JD Lowe.
And I'm Eli Baxter, and we've got a busy week that just happened, and a busy week ahead of us too. In the NBA, first off, what happened with the NBA standings and have they changed?
Yeah, not a lot of movement. Not a lot of movement in the NBA. The Cavs stay at top in the East. They're number one. And number two in the East also still remains the Celtics. The Cavs sit at 48-10, and the Celtics follow behind closely with 42-17 record. And then in the West, the Thunder, they still sit atop with a record of 47-11, and the Grizzlies with a record of 38-20 sit number 2 in the West.
That's right. And last week, the league-leading Cavaliers, they started out the week hot. They beat the Knicks 142-105 at home, and they looked really well, or really good in that game. And then on Friday, the Rockets, they came out on top over Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves, 121-115. And then the new look Lakers with Luka Doncic and LeBron James, they got on top of the former MVP Nikola Jokic, 123-100 in Denver. And then the Celtics, the reigning NBA champions, they got a hold of the Knicks just like the Cavs did. Not as much of a big deficit there for the Knicks. It was 118-105. And then the Cavs, they got back in action. They beat the Grizzlies, the second in the West, 129-123 on Sunday. There was a bit of a couple of chippy plays in there. Desmond Bane and Donovan Mitchell, they got into a little bit of a tussle on the ground, and led to some benches clearing on both sides of the ball. And then the Timberwolves, they came out on top, over the top in the West on Monday, 131-128, after they fell to the Thunder, 130-123, just the day before. And then to close out the week, the Lakers take on the Mavs, the two teams that had probably the biggest trade at the NBA trade deadline. The Lakers won 107-99.
Yeah, so busy week last week in the NBA, and as we look forward now, another busy week for all the teams. The Nuggets, they're going to take on the Bucks. Jokic and Giannis, two former MVPs, take on each other tonight. Then the Timberwolves, they'll take on the Lakers. That'll be Ant and obviously a couple big names with the Lakers, like we said, Luka and LeBron. So that should be a fun one. And then the Cavs will take on the Celtics. That's obviously a very big game, number 1 and 2 in the East. So that should be fun. And then the Knicks, they'll take on the Grizzlies on Friday. The Bucks will play the Mavericks that'll be on Saturday actually. The Nuggets, they'll play the Celtics on Sunday. And then the Clippers and the Lakers, they'll take on each other also on Sunday. And then turning the page to the next calendar week, on Monday, the Rockets will play the Thunder. And the Rockets will play the Pacers the next day on Tuesday. And then the Thunder will play the Grizzlies on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's a 1 and 2 in the West matchup. So we got 1 and 2 in the East going head-to-head, and 1 and 2 in the West going head-to-head. So as the season turns down, it's looking like it's going to be a good, nice little playoff race, and going to be an exciting playoffs. And then in the MLS, the season got underway. Match day 1 was just complete over the weekend with a bunch of new teams, new faces on different teams. There was a ton of transfers, ton of teams moving up the power rankings after their off-season moves. To start out, LAFC, they beat Minnesota United 1-0. Atlanta United, the new look team, has signed 2 great players over the offseason, set an MLS transfer record of $22 million as well over the offseason. They won 3-2 over CF Montreal. The Columbus Crew, the hometown team, they beat Chicago Fire 4-2 after a slow start for them, but they got the goals scoring. And then DC United and Toronto FC, they drew at 2-2. And then FC Cincinnati, the new look team with Evander and Denke, they won 1-0 over New York Red Bulls, the MLS Cup runner-ups. And then Inter Miami and New York City FC, they tied 2-2. It was a close, late score at the end by Inter Miami to draw the game in the 100th minute, 10th minute of added time. It was quite crazy to see. And then Orlando City SC, they fell at home to to Philadelphia Union 4-2. And then Austin FC, they beat Sporting Kansas City 1-0. Houston Dynamo, they fell in a derby to FC Dallas 2-1. And then Nashville SC tied New England Revolution with zero goals in the net. Same with St. Louis SC and Colorado Rapids. And then the San Jose Earthquakes, a team who was near the bottom of the league last year, absolutely dominated in their performance over Real Salt Lake, 4-0. And then the Seattle Sounders, they drew with Charlotte FC. Seattle Sounders got a couple new players, new faces, and I was kind of surprised that they drew with Charlotte, but they still got a lot of season ahead of them to gel and potentially take home the MLS Cup. And then the Vancouver Whitecaps, they took home a massive win in the Derby against Portland Timbers, 4-1. And the very new MLS team, San Diego FC, took on the reigning MLS champs, LA Galaxy, and they came out on top 2-0. LA Galaxy kind of played a couple of smaller and not as well-known guys, but still not a great start for them for the season after winning the MLS Cup last year.
Yeah, lots of action in the MLS, and super happy to see professional soccer at home back getting started. Obviously fun for all the sports fans here to get another professional sport underway. So yeah, busy week, and another busy week ahead is Charlotte FC. They're going to play Atlanta United. Philadelphia Union, they'll play FC Cincinnati. Vancouver Whitecaps will take on LA Galaxy. LA Galaxy obviously trying to get a win after their, like we said, disappointing performance. The Colorado Rapids, they're going to take on FC Dallas. And then the San Diego FC, they'll take on St. Louis City SC.
Yeah, the two newest clubs in the MLS will go at it in San Diego for San Diego's home opener. It'll be exciting to watch. And then in UEFA, the Champions League, it's about to get underway for the round of 16s, legs 1 and 2 on March 4th. Club Brugge will take on Aston Villa. Real Madrid will take on Atletico Madrid in a derby of Madrid. PSV will play Arsenal. Dortmund will play LOSC. Feyenoord will take on Inter Milan. Bayern Munich and Bayern Leverkusen will take on each other as well. And then Benfica will play Barcelona, and PSG will also play Liverpool. And then on the other side of the pond, we've got CONCACAF Champions Cup. Some results from this past week were Inter Miami. They beat Sporting Kansas City 3-1 the other day, and they will move on aggregate 4-1. And then LAFC, they beat Colorado Rapids 1-0, but they tied in the aggregate with Colorado Rapids. But LAFC will move on due to the away goals because they had just one more. And then FC Cincinnati, they drew 1-1 against Montague. But FC Cincinnati will move on to aggregate 5-2. And then Real Salt Lake, who struggled in their season opener in the MLS, also struggled against Herediano, and they will not move on. Herediano will move on 2-1 on aggregate. And then the Seattle Sounders, they beat Antigua GFC 3-1, and they will move on 6-2 on aggregate. And then today, we've got Vancouver Whitecaps. They will take on Deportivo Saprissa in their second leg. And then so far, in the round of 16, we've already got a couple matchups set. LAFC, they'll take on the Columbus Crew. Tigres, we just still don't know who they play, but they will take on a winner of Vancouver Whitecaps, or sorry, we don't know who they'll take on yet. But then Pumas and Alajuelense will take on Pumas, and then LA Galaxy, Cruz Azul, Monterrey, and we'll all look to wait and see who they play in the next round. And then Club America and Guadalajara will take on each other, and Inter Miami will take on Cavalier.
Yeah, lots of super fun soccer news going on right now, or football if you're across the pond, like they say.
Yeah.
So thank you, Eli, for that recap.
A lot of tough names there.
Yeah, that's true. Lots of different languages. And now we'll turn over to John for another edition of Worldwide Wacky Sports.
Ever heard of wife carrying? It is a fun and strange sport that originated in Finland. The idea is simple. Men race while carrying their wives through an obstacle course. It is said to have started in the late 1800s. It's inspired by a local legend of a bandit who stole women from villages. Today, it is a fun and competitive event, with the winning couple often taking home the wife's weight in beer.
Thanks, John. That was an interesting one. Never heard of that before, but kind of fun to see.
Yeah.
And now we'll turn to a real sport. We'll turn over to college basketball. So some updates out of East Lansing, as Michigan State, they won against a rival, Michigan. They won 75-62. Pretty close ranked teams. Michigan State ranked number 14 going into that game, and Michigan was ranked number 12. So Michigan State obviously happy to get the win over their in-state rivals. And then Kentucky, they took on Alabama. Alabama won a little wide of a margin. They won 96-83. Bama was ranked number 4. Kentucky ranked number 17. Houston, they won over Iowa State 68-59. Texas, they would fall to Tennessee as they fell 77-69. And then Oregon, they won over Wisconsin. That was a big one in OT. Great game there, and Oregon would win 77-73. Arkansas, they won. They were unranked, and they beat Missouri, number 15 ranked Missouri, and they would win 92-85. So that was a big one for Arkansas, obviously. And then BYU, another unranked team, they took down Arizona as they won 96-95, a close one. BYU ranked BYU was unranked. Arizona was ranked number 19 at the time, so big one for BYU. Mississippi State, they would fall 87 to 93 to Oklahoma. Another unranked upset there from Oklahoma as Mississippi State, they're ranked number 21. And then Vanderbilt, they took down Ole Miss 77-72. Another one where an unranked team won.
Lots of upsets this week.
Lots of upsets, and also followed by another unranked upset is Indiana took down Purdue 73-58, a big one for the unranked team. And then Houston, number 4, they got it done 69-61. They took down Texas Tech. And then Georgia, they took down number 3 Florida, unranked Georgia. That was crazy. And they would win 88-83.
Yeah, probably the biggest upset of the week there.
Yeah, that was a special one. And then Oklahoma State, they took down Iowa State 74-68. Oklahoma State unranked, Iowa State number 9. So not sure what was going on in college basketball, but Michigan State, they took down Maryland as well as they won 58-55. And a half-court buzzer beater from Trey Holloman to win that game. So I mean, what a week of college basketball. Some fun stuff, some unexpected stuff. That was great.
Yeah, it's kind of given me a little bit of a feeling of March, which is just around the corner. After all, with all these upsets, buzzer beaters, it's definitely going to be exciting March with March Madness. And then for our picks of the week, we've got Auburn taking on Kentucky on the road. I'm going to go with Auburn in this one. They just look dominant, and Kentucky, after their loss to Alabama, I don't think they're going to be able to get it done.
I agree. I'll go with Auburn. They'll be away, but the number 1 ranked team, I think they'll get it done.
And then for this next one, we've got 6 Alabama. They're heading on the road to Knoxville, Tennessee to take on the Volunteers, who are ranked 5th. Who do you have for this one?
This will be a close one, definitely, but I have Tennessee in this game.
I'm going to agree with you there. I'm going to take the Volunteers. And then Texas A&M, they're heading on the road to Gator Country. They're taking on Florida, who looks to bounce back. I'm going to take the Gators in this one. I think they bounce back and get it done. Who do you have for that one?
Yeah, I agree. I think they'll have a little bit of fire, underneath them to try to get it done. So, yeah, Florida.
Yeah, and then in number 22, Arizona, they're going to head on the road to play Iowa State in Ames, Iowa. The number 9 ranked team will play host to the number 22 ranked team. I'm going to take Iowa State in this one after their loss to Arizona earlier this year. I think Iowa State bounces back and turns it around, and I think they get the win.
I think Arizona, they're going to pull out a little bit of a surprise away. I think they'll do it. They know how to do it like they did earlier in the year. I think they'll get it done.
Sweet. And then 11, Wisconsin, after they got upset, they're playing on the roll, the Spartans, the number 8 ranked Spartans. I'm going to take the Spartans in this one since they have the home court advantage.
Yeah, I agree. They got a little bit too much momentum over Wisconsin right now.
And then the number 1 ranked Auburns, they're back on the road. They're taking on Texas A&M, the number 12 ranked team. I'm going to go with Auburn in this one too. I just don't think they look like they can be beat.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely take number 1 right now.
And then number 25 ranked BYU, they're just entering the rankings after their couple upsets. They take on number 9 ranked Iowa State. But I'm going to go with Iowa State in this one. I think BYU is going to keep it close, but I think Iowa State's going to come out on top.
I think BYU, whatever they got going for them right now, I think it's definitely working. I think BYU will figure out a way to pull out a win over Iowa State.
And then the 16-ranked Maryland, they're going to head on the road to play in Ann Arbor. 15-ranked Michigan will take on 16-ranked Maryland. Who do you have for that one?
I think that'll be a close one, but I think the home court advantage will topple it over, and Michigan will take the win.
Yeah, sad to say that, but I agree with that one.
Yeah, definitely not the type of words you want to hear out of Columbus. But
yeah. And then number 3 ranked Florida, they're going to head on the road to play the Crimson Tide in Alabama. I'm going to take Alabama in this one. I think the home court advantage will help them take the win.
Yeah, I agree. I think Bama will get it done. A little bit of fire like the other teams, a little bit of fire underneath them. I think they'll get it done.
Yeah, sweet. And then what's happening in the NHL news, JD?
Yeah, well, the regular season is back underway after a little bit of a hiatus for the Four Nations tournament, a new tournament like we kind of went over last week. So in that tournament, Canada and the U.S., they would take on each other 1 week ago today, last Thursday, in a thriller. It was an OT thriller. The game was 2-2 after the end of regulation, as Brady Tkachuk would get the goal scoring open for the U.S., and then a little bit of turns each way. Canada and the U.S. both taking their swings. In OT, and the U.S. would eventually fall to Canada, as Connor McDavid, the best hockey player in the world right now, he would get the puck open in the slot, and you're not really going to do anything if he's unprotected, just right in front of the net, and he would put it past Connor Hellebuck, the favorite to win the Vezina this year. And Canada would take it for another international win. Canada's been unstoppable recently with international wins. They haven't lost to the U.S. In an international competition at the professional level since 2004. So they have the best players in the world, and they proved again that they're just unstoppable at the international level. But yeah, as the regular season turned back to in the NHL, the Winnipeg Jets, that, like we said, Connor Hellebuck, the favorite for the Vezina, he's on his hot streak still, as the Winnipeg Jets got to an 11-game winning streak last night. And that bested their previous streak of 8 games when they started the year with 8 consecutive wins. And they look like the 2022 Boston Bruins, who were the statistically the best team in NHL history. But they honestly look better than them right now, and they have everything. They have the offense. They don't have too much star power, but they just seem to get it done. The trade deadline also coming up March 7th, just over a week away, and some big names are being rumored right now to be traded. Sidney Crosby, Jack Hughes, another U.S. guy, Elias Pettersson, all superstars in their own right who are on the trade block for whatever reason, whether it be just to move on to a more competitive team or whatever it is. And then Connor Bedard, the superstar rookie, has been under fire recently, as a lot of fans, a lot of reporters think he's underperforming, although he did just reach the 100-point plateau, and he did this faster than some big names like Nathan MacKinnon and Jack Hughes, and did it in the same amount of time as Austin Matthews at 112 games. So not exactly sure if the hate is precedented there, as he seems to be doing relatively well on a struggling Chicago team. So probably not his fault that he's not producing at the level that fans wanted him to, but we'll see if they can turn it around in the next couple of years as they get some bigger pieces.
And thank you, JD. That was an interesting NHL news. Going to that hockey game was quite fun watching the Blue Jackets win. And with that, we're going to send it to Alex with this week's in sports with Luka Doncic's birthday.
This week in sports, February 28th. On February 28th, we celebrate the birthday of NBA star Luka Doncic. Luka will turn 26 on Saturday and was born in 1999 in Ljubljana, Slovenia. Doncic began his professional career in Spain, playing for Real Madrid as a 16-year-old. He would eventually become the league's youngest MVP at 18 years old, per NBA.com. For his 8-year NBA career, Luka has averaged a near triple-double, averaging 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. Doncic won Rookie of the Year in 2019 and has made 5 All-Star Game appearances over his career. Luka was most recently involved in a blockbuster trade, sending him to the Los Angeles Lakers and sending Lakers center Anthony Davis to the Dallas Mavericks. Luka looks to continue his successful career in the purple and gold.
Thank you, Alex. Luka Doncic getting it done with the Lakers, and happy birthday to him, too. And then in the PGA Tour, we're going to send it to the outdoor sports in Mexico. The PGA just went to the Mexico Open at Vedanta World, and it was a close one as Brian Campbell got his first PGA Tour victory over Aldrich Potgieter in a playoff. It was a very exciting one to watch. Brian Campbell, a smaller name on tour, past couple of tournaments he has been cut every single one, did not make the cut, and did not move on to the weekend. So it was exciting to see him win, and maybe you could see an upcoming superstar on the PGA Tour. And then next week is the Cognizant Classic in the Palm Beaches. on the PGA Tour. And then in TGL news, we've got our last week of the season coming up. But last week, LAGC, they beat New York Golf Club 5-4. Boston Common, they fell to the Atlanta Drive 6-3. The Bay Golf Club, they beat the Jupiter Lynx 6-3. And then we've already had some teams just past week clinch their spot in the playoff, including LAGC, Atlanta Drive, and the Bay Golf Club, who all got wins this past week. The other teams that are looking to make the playoffs, New York Golf Club, the ways they can make it, they're fourth right now in the standings. Top 4 teams make the playoffs. Boston, all they need to do is beat Boston in their next game, or they can have an overtime loss versus Boston and Jupiter Lynx loss. And another way they can get it is they lose versus Boston outright, and Jupiter loses, or an overtime loss versus Atlanta United, because they have more holes won than Boston and Jupiter Lynx. Then Jupiter Lynx, they can win versus Atlanta and hope for a New York loss to Boston. They can get an overtime loss versus Atlanta and have New York loss versus Boston, and they will need to have more holes won than New York. It is possible. And then Boston Common, the team that sits last right now, they just need to win versus New York and Jupiter Lynx to lose versus Atlanta, and they need to score or get more holes won than New York, which seems a little of a reach, but it's possible. Very, very low percentage chance. But and then it's the final week we've got before the playoffs. We've got the New York Golf Club. They play Boston Common. Both teams needing a huge win there. The Bay Golf Club, they take on LAGC, which are 2 of the top teams in the standings right now. It'll be an exciting one to watch. And then Jupiter Lynx, they need to win against Atlanta Drive.
Yeah, thanks, Eli, for that. Lots of fun golf stuff going on right now. So we'll turn it over to Ian now with another edition of Ohio Sports Roundup.
Thanks, JD and Eli. In Ohio sports news, just yesterday, the Ohio State men's basketball team defeated USC 87-82. Meanwhile, the Ohio State women's basketball team dominated Michigan State 89-78. The women's team will then head to College Park on Sunday to face Maryland at 4:30 on FS1. The Columbus Blue Jackets head to Detroit tonight at 7 to take on the Red Wings before hosting the Red Wings on Saturday in the Stadium Series at Ohio Stadium at 6. On Friday at 7:30, the Cavs head to Boston to face the Celtics in a massive game before hosting the Trailblazers on Sunday at 3:30. And finally, the Columbus Crew look to win their second game of the season as they head to New England to face the Revolution on Saturday at 7:30 on Apple TV. That's it for this week's Ohio Sports Roundup. This has been Ian Miller, and now, back to the guys.
Thank you, Ian, for another edition of Ohio Sports Roundup. And thank you for watching another edition of DBSN Overtime. I'm JD Lowe.
And I'm Eli Baxter, and we can't wait to see you guys back next week on another episode of DBSN Overtime.